Banquet's back and over. One more speaker, then a toast starts. Are you ready? Who the fuck is this? So the back end, we're ready. We can't hear anything from inside, so please give us a cue when the speech is wrapping up. Snap 10 bottles of beer per table. Make sure to deliver them to your area smoothly. Young hotel workers, dressed smartly in bow ties, pulled bottle after bottle out of the beer cases, preparing for the toast. They waited for the cue to serve the drinks while listening through the intercom. That's the annoying thing, particularly about this arc, is the order of the scenes kind of is all over the place. Like, this is just the intro, kind of like giving backstory to Takano and kind of like showing how she ended up the way she did and why she, did what she did, essentially. It's all coming together. But even beyond that, there's like kind of a jumbledness to it, if I recall. I haven't read through this arc in years, but I do remember it being more jumbled compared to the other ones. At a normal party, they could put bottles of beer on the table ahead of time, but if there was a lecture before the party, then they couldn't. Yes, to mind sushi going dry due to a long speech, but they don't like seeing the tables get wet with condensation from the bottles of beer, and more than anything, they certainly don't want to drink warm beer. That's why beer has to be served right before a toast. Well, there's always a speech before a toast, and usually a long one. Especially at a big party like this, there are a lot of guests that give speeches, so it's extremely difficult to know when to serve. For that reason, the bottles end up sitting outside by the banquet room. People end up drinking warm beer anyway. So, yeah, great speech, you fucking ass. I know that beer's frickin' warm. There are several dozen tables with white tablecloths on them in the banquet room. Approximately 8 people were sitting at each table, and there were at least a few hundred people in the room. Must be a big room, then, I take it. The banquet room was filled with excitement. There were many plates with many different kinds of food on each table. Sushi platter, a sashimi platter, a fruits platter. Oh, and also along the wall there were cooks ready to serve fresh sashimi. Everything's fish. All the guests appeared to be well-mannered gentlemen and clearly were notable people in various different fields. The huge and beautiful chandelier above them clearly indicated that this hotel held a status good enough for these famous people. An elderly gentleman was giving a lengthy speech on the stage before making a toast. Usually people don't like such long speeches, especially if it's before a toast. But the guests occasionally shouted, "Yes, yes," and sometimes gave him loud applause, filling the room with their fervor. Well, maybe fervor was a pleasant way to put it. It was probably more accurate to say their excitement was bizarre. Which country would actually teach people not to show respect towards their own flag? There are no others. It's happening only in Japan. Wait, what? They would actually teach people not to show respect towards their own flag. That's right, that's right. Nationalism. It's forcing people to respect the national flag and anthem and an obstruction of their freedom. That's a foolish idea. Listen, love for one's national flag and anthem comes naturally to all. To know oneself, to know our culture, to understand our history and our country itself. Those are the things that make you realize that you are a Japanese citizen, that make you understand the part you play as a citizen of this country. And the feeling you get from that is love towards your own country. With nationalism that could possibly never go wrong and never leads to wars or a conflict ever. No, siree. Whoever those anti-Japan teachers are proclaiming that it's militaristic brainwashing. Those stupid claims are wrong. What are those people doing anyway? Teaching the youth? They're teaching our children to hate being Japanese. They're the ones brainwashing them with this self-destructive education. They are teaching our children that Japan should be ashamed of itself and that they should be ashamed of being Japanese. Forget who you are and deny your country. That's what they're teaching them. These innocent children listen and believe such nonsense. Well, nationalism? Yeah, this is definitely like, I hate that when, like, people, like, do that. Just stir shit up via nationalism. You know, just say a bunch of bullshit to get people in a blind fury. It's like, yeah, even though what he's saying is kind of bullshit, yeah, because it's our country. And just like Japan, fuck yeah, America, fuck yeah, United Kingdom, fuck, yeah? You know, I just don't get nationalism to such an extreme degree. It's never a good thing, I feel. Of course they do. They go to school to learn things, right? Their teachers teach them that, of course the children believe it. Can you believe such corruption exists? And, what you're doing is not corruption? Being like, no, you must worship the flag and all this shit and be prideful and nationalistic to an extreme degree. We must do something about this country's education now, no matter what it takes. Sound of applause filled the banquet room. All the gentlemen agreed and expressed that they felt the same way by cheering him on. After that, gentleman wearing a cloth sash approached the stage. To all welcomed him onto the stage with another round of thunderous applause. Rousing theme from a popular drama series played as he took the stage, but it was entirely unnecessary for the overwhelming applause. You know, maybe this would kind of make sense, wouldn't it? Maybe. Van Sarge carried his name written in large letters along with the name of the prefecture he was running for office in. Let me introduce you to a patriot, blah 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 coon. This man has served the former governor as his right-hand man as... I was about to say dictator then. Director of the office of the governor for many years, supporting the prefecture's government for a long time. As the previous government has decided to retire, he was appointed as the next governor. Fortunately, we have those anti-Japan teachers on our prefecture. While they proclaim freedom of education and freedom of thought, they're shamelessly forcing an anti-Japan education down on our children. How? They don't teach real history, they teach our children that everything was Japan's fault. They don't even mention the true purpose of the Great East Asia Co-Prosperity Fair, all those who fought to save Asian people from Western control. They don't even talk about how many Asian countries were actually Western colonies before Japan stood up for our freedom during the war. Our country has recovered immensely since then, yet our children don't know any of that, because those teachers don't teach them. How truly, truly sad. I can't stand the fact that those anti-Japan teachers are actually teaching our children alongside those teachers who take teaching seriously. They are insulting our educational institutions. I will become a governor and get rid of those teachers. I will straighten out our education system and corrupt them, and make sure our children grow up to be decent, young, people, who can carry on Japan's future, I mean, that's the thing with history. Every country is shit in some way or another when it comes to history. Japan, they did a lot of shit in World War II, and, even without that, it's like always seems to be like how Europe is known for having so many wars and conflicts over the years. You go over to Asia and it's pretty much the same shit. It's always fighting with the nearest neighbors and all that. It's like, no, fuck you, no, fuck you, no, fuck you. We want your land, we want your resources. Like, fuck off. We're defending our country, and we might think about taking yours, or maybe we're just defending it. I don't know, but fuck you. It's always just conflicts and conflicts. He blah shit twat coon announces his candidacy for the next year's prefectural governmentship. We appreciate your support for you. I promise I will straighten out Japan's education system and make it all propaganda. Thank you for your support. Again, the banquet room filled with applause. I mean, didn't they mention in the backstory for the, the whole Himizawa thing with the syndrome? And, in the backstory, but, there's a party, that wants to, bring back all this, militarized shit and be like, war! We must conquer the world! We must stand on top of the world! Because that was kind of in the backstory, wasn't it? That's probably how this is connected, I suppose. I need to explain a bit about this banquet before you misunderstand. misunderstand what, and received a standing ovation. It wasn't the conference of a political association or a lecture by a political candidate. It's hard to believe, but this was nothing more than a meeting of a college's alumni association. Really? Everyone should be familiar with what those are. Well, it's elementary school, junior high school, or college. Once you graduate from one of those, you normally belong to an organization of alumni. Receive invitations for reunions where you enjoy talking about the good old days. However, there are many different types of such organizations. Some are simple and some are united with much tighter bonds. And once an organization becomes united with those tight bonds, it's no longer a simple organization or alumni. Rather, it becomes a significant faction known as an alma mater clique. In Japanese society, it's traditional for graduates to form tighter bonds that go beyond the level of an organization. Also, the more severe the alma mater, whatever, the stronger that tendency holds true. The Imperial University, one of the best universities in the country, is famous for the deep bonds its graduates form. Why do superior people like to bond? Superior people? Superiority complex? Maybe because they take pride in being superior. We are the snotty elite. The poor. Have the scraps of my fart, you bitch. You notice they look at a lot of politicians. They all kind of come from the same kind of backgrounds. Pretty much, don't they? But more than that, maintaining connections is the most significant reason, yes, because they all love the smell of their own farts, and they all get along so well that if they need a favour, they shall help, but only in return if they will do the same for them, and I don't even know what the fuck I'm talking about. All Imperial University graduates are lit in their respective fields. They love the smell of their own farts. They likely succeed and become important people. When they do, the unity of their alumni association gains a measurable meaning. In fact, even today, the Imperial University graduates maintain their tight academic clique, and they hold great influence throughout many different fields. They interact with other universities as well, so the graduates' bonds are extremely tight, even today. Additionally, while Imperial University is the first university of Tokyo, sometimes it's used to mean all 7 major universities in Japan. They are located in Tokyo, Kyoto, Tohoku, Kyushu, Hokkaido, Osaka, and Nagoya. They are all great schools. There happens to be an organization of alumni that includes all of those 7 universities. The elderly gentlemen in this banquet room were each from one of those organizations. However, not every graduate would get an invitation here automatically. The Society of Select Gentlemen, and in order to become a member, one must first fulfill several conditions, such as a recommendation from an existing member, contribution to the society, possession of status, and so forth. Therefore, the members are important people from different fields. Obviously, the power of this organization is of a political nature. So, we're talking very rich, influential, old people. But there's one more very different criterion one has to meet to join. Strong patriotism, a heart that longs to contribute to Japan and its rebirth. As a result, this organization has become extremely nationalistic. I mean, what if they actually, if Japan kind of went in an extreme direction like that again, and decided, okay, we're going to invade other countries and shit, and then it leads to all kinds of hell breaking loose, and be like, well done, you stupid fools. Up on the stage, the candidate for the prefectural government was still talking passionately. It's like, I don't know. And among those elderly gentlemen in the crowd, Takano can be found. I mean, what the hell's Takano even doing there, really? I don't know how the minds work of the people who, pretty much rule the world. Various world rulers, like all the presidents, prime ministers, and all that shit. All these politics and bollocks. It's like for them to succeed at that, it feels like they definitely have to be either a psychopath or a sociopath to get that far, because I don't feel like any normal human being could get to that kind of position without being very ruthless. Takano seemed used to this kind of conference and seemed unsurprised at anything that was said. But at the same time, she looked rather fed up with it. As she was in attendance, she must have been one of their members, which meant she possessed not only an extremely excellent academic background, but that the older gentleman here had acknowledged her equivalent contributions to society, that she possessed strong patriotism. However, her academic background was the only qualification she had met to join. She was only able to join as a special case because of her connections. She didn't even hold prejudiced ideas like the other members did. So why was she here today? Probably because of the same reason as the man giving the speech up on stage. The man on the stage didn't actually have prejudiced ideas, much like Takano. He only prepared a speech that he knew the guests would like. Politicians only want votes. Each and every person has a vote, but appealing to each one of them takes too long. So the most efficient way is to appeal to an organization with a unified idea and a unified will. Yeah, that's that, isn't it? Think about it, it's like... that's just how it goes, isn't it? Politicians, when, voting comes around, they'll just, play up to their party, I will do this and that, but they're not really talking to their actual, the average voter. They're just putting up this facade to be like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna do all this, but actually these other people, yeah, we got their back, not your back, but keep voting for us, please. We promise we will do something for you. And then as soon as they vote in, yeah, about that, it's a lot more complicated, you see. It's not that I'm just, don't want to do it, it's just that it's so hard to do. That's why I don't get about politics, is, people who will, worship, politicians. It's because to me, I feel like any politician is, probably almost always full of shit. In other words, this man was given this speech so he can garner support from those powerful people. I mean, maybe there's some politicians out there that aren't complete arse-hats, but probably aren't the successful ones. The elder gentlemen in the banquet room will then do their best to support him, since he appears to share their ideals. They can offer many different kinds of support and assistance, to an outrageous degree, I might add. If today's event continued in the same way, the organization would likely decide to officially support him. They will probably give him a great deal of financial aid, to assist him in different ways as well. Of course, the man on the stage won't be the only one gaining something. When he wins the election and becomes the governor next year, the organization will welcome the governor as a new member and gain even more political influence. Eventually, the organization will become so powerful that nobody can ignore it. Those who are reading this right now probably get the sense that they're no mere Illuminati association. Be absolutely right. After researching this level, they were a fine syndicate. Now they would be a secret society if the group wasn't so open about its activities. I'm sure a few readers are brushing this off, thinking there's no way such a splendid organization could exist in Japan. Is the novel pretty much breaking the fourth wall at this point? It's okay. So this scene playing out, right? It's you're probably thinking this and that, but it's actually this. But everything I've explained is entirely true. There are several such is she writing down notes? There are several such influential groups and organizations within our society. We need to understand that they hold powerful political clout and influence our national policies. Some are major cliques like the ones I've described above. Others are scientific societies serving different parties, industrial groups, adversary committees, religious organizations, community service groups, and so forth. Also, there are right wings and left wings, the hawk and the dove. I won't go listing their specific names here, Funny thing is, I was randomly reading the Wikipedia for the War of the Roses, and it mentioned hawk, and like I hovered over it for like what the page described as. It's like pretty much like in politics, it's someone who's, you know, all for war and shit, and the dove would be the opposite of that. Yet you've probably read them every now and then in your average newspaper. In Japan, the term for such forces aren't very common. Most of your readers probably think a suspicious organization is wearing white hoods when you hear the phrase secret society and laugh it off. Now, they say white hoods, or it's just like the KKK? Are they really secrets? But unfortunately, that's a huge mistake. In America, where there's far more territory and citizens, there's way more groups like that. They possess such vast influence that ignoring them is impossible. So the terms they use for such forces doesn't apply to those on the scale of this syndicate. Sometimes people say that such groups have more power than the White House, and they are referred to as the shadow governments. Even here in Japan, we had a shadow government before the war, or Zaibatsu. After we lost the war, the GHQ dismantled those blocks, but 14 years have passed since then. There's no guarantee our country hasn't given birth to another shadow government, given how good we are at collusion, grounds, work, and the backroom deals. Yeah, Takano was, in fact, attending a conference of such a shadow government. It might appear to be a guest house at a huge golf course. There are no golfers in sight, but by appearance, there must be it. What the fuck's this guy do with the scene we just saw? But appearances can be deceiving. This wasn't a golf course, but a huge backyard. Looks like a bunch of pounds to me. I guess that's in fact a very stylish mansion. Normal people would be surprised to learn that this was a private residence. Would they really? The interior of the building was as lavish as the exterior. There were beautiful carpets on every... Wait a minute. Maybe this is the mansion from Resident Evil. No, on every floor. Expensive-looking decorations on the wall and expensive-looking bottles of alcohol on shelves. That's the kind of room Takano could be seen in. There was a knock at the door, and an old man in a wheelchair and a young woman pushing it entered. As Takano stood up to bow, the old man stopped her by raising his right hand. No, you don't need to stand up. Long time no see. I've been telling you to come see me any time, but you never do. My throat. You know what I'll do for this record session? Doing that voice there, like that. That was the first, actually. Oh wait, no, I didn't have a word for the day. Let's find a word. CG, politics, that's fitting. Or as I call it, bolitics, because it's all kind of bollocks when you really think about it. Just bollocks. And with that bollocks, I shall see you next time whenever I get around to recording next. And don't know when I'll start uploading for this, but yeah. The Matsuribayashi, whatever pronunciation, arc begins in the most unusual way, because the start of the record session was a clusterfuck, and then there was the shit with the orphanage. Then there was the shit with the nationalistic driven party who seemed to want to kind of go back to, you know, Japan, like being a bit, I don't know, would the intention be to be more aggressive on like a kind of, it's like, we gotta show the world that we're strong, powerful, military strong. I don't know. But anyways, we'll see what happens the rest with Takano's backstory. God knows how long the backstory goes on for, I can't remember, so it's going to be quite a few parts before we actually, get to the point of the arc, which is, resolving the issue as opposed to just hearing about Takano's backstory. Anyways, see you next time, viewers. See you next time.